Have you ever wondered what it was like to grow up in an early Native American tribe? These children lived very different lives than we live today. Young children and babies spent all of their time close to their mother. The mother would go about her daily work and chores, carrying the baby on her back in a cradle board. The mother often nursed the young child until it was 2 or 3 years old. New children were generally treated as special, and many tribes had ceremonies they performed on newborns. Naming the newborn was also an important process. A person's birth name was usually not used in everyday conversation. People referred to each other either by their relationship daughter or mother, or by a nickname. Girls were often given a nickname that described a characteristic or exploit of the girl. The early tribes did not have any sort of official education or schools like we have now, but the children were expected to learn. Young girls followed the women around and learned to do traditional women's work like making baskets, working the fields, and cooking. Children learned of the history and moral rules of the tribe from stories told by the elders. These stories were not only entertaining, but also held meaning and taught the children how they were expected to behave. One of the things that shocked early European observers of daily Native American life was the way children were punished. Unlike European children, Native American children were seldom struck or spanked when they disobeyed. Punishment usually involved teasing and shame in front of the rest of the tribe. At the same time, children who obeyed were praised and honored in front of the tribe. The transition from child to adult was usually clearly defined in Native American tribes. The child would go through some kind of rite of passage ceremony and then be considered an adult. They were expected to act like an adult from that day forward. The ceremonies varied between different tribes and were usually different for boys and girls. One type of ceremony was called a vision quest. During the vision quest, the child would go off alone into the wilderness. They would stay there without food or sleep until they had a vision. The vision would provide a guardian spirit or direction for the child's new adult life. One of the interesting facts about life as a Native American child is that children were often taught at a young age to be strong and not show emotion. They were expected to conform to the ways of the tribe. In 1644, the Reverend John Megalopensis, minister at a Dutch church in New Netherlands, complained that Native American women were obliged to prepare the land, to mow, to plant, and do everything. The men do nothing except hunting, fishing, and going to war against their enemies. Many of his fellow Europeans described Native American women as slaves to the men because of the perceived differences in their labor compared to European women. Native American women performed what Europeans considered to be men's work. But from the Native American perspective, women's roles reflected their own cultural emphases on reciprocity, balance, and autonomy. Most scholars agree that Native American women at the time of contact with Europeans had more authority and autonomy than did European women. In most cases, the women were actually in charge of gathering materials and then building the homes for everyone. They maintained their home's roof and created new houses for tribes to live in. This is an astonishing achievement, particularly for the women of their time. The men knew that women were the source of life and provided a feeling of strength and consistency to their lives. The women in Native American tribes often helped their men to hunt down buffalo. Then, when the buffalo were harvested, the women were responsible for skinning, cutting, and cooking the animal. They also gathered firewood, cooked, and repaired clothing and shoes. But Native American women were not simply homemakers. In fact, they served a great deal of important purposes and were essential to the tribe in other ways as well. Women made tools and weapons out of animal bone, which were absolutely necessary for everyone's survival. Not only was there medicine men in the tribes, but there were medicine women as well. In fact, many Native American tribes believed that the women had more healing power and were able to soothe ill souls with their chants and connection to the spirit world. Medicine women gathered herbs to create healing medicines for those who fell sick within the tribe. Additionally, most Native American women were master craftsmen who made beautiful blankets, baskets, and pottery. Jewelry was another favorite. There was a feeling of mutual respect between the men and women of the tribes. They cared for their children and husbands, just like the modern woman does today. Without their help, it would have been very difficult for the Native Americans to survive.